You walk loudly for someone who claims to be a warrior. I heard you coming from 3 decks away. On my ship, that kind of noise would get you killed before you reached the bridge.
Your ship is full of organics, soft things that need silence to survive. My Decepticons are built for war, not stealth. When we arrive, our enemies know it. Fear does half the work before the first shot is fired. But I didn't come here to discuss tactics with a man who hides inside a walking coffin.
A coffin that has crushed more throats than your cannon has melted. But you're right. We didn't come here for tactics. We came because someone thought 2 servants of Empire should meet. Compare notes. I'm not convinced there's anything to compare.
Servants, you use that word freely. I serve no one. I lead the Decepticons. Cybertron's future rests in my hands. You, on the other hand, kneel to an old man in a robe. I've seen the Holovids. You call him master. Bow your head when he speaks. That's not a commander, that's a dog on a leash.
You know nothing of the Emperor, nothing of the power he wields. The leash you see is a chain I chose, because the alternative was death. And dead men don't shape the future. They become fuel for those who survive. I survived. That required certain arrangements.
Arrangements. Pretty word for surrender. I've made arrangements too. Temporary alliances. Ceasefires that served a purpose. But I never bowed. Never called another being master. When the war began on Cybertron, I swore I would die before I let anyone put a collar on me again. That promise has held for 4 million years.
And what have you accomplished in that time? Your war drags on. Your planet is dead or dying. Your soldiers fracture into factions that hate each other almost as much as they hate the enemy. I helped build an empire that spans a galaxy, brought order to systems that hadn't known peace in generations. The collar you mock bought more than your freedom ever did.
Yes, I've heard about your order. The clone soldiers who turned on their own generals in a single night. Thousands of warriors cut down by the men who fought beside them for years. Order 66, they called it. Tell me, Vader, were you proud of that? Watching your former allies die because an old man whispered a code word?
I didn't watch. I participated. The temple, the council members, the younglings in the training halls. I walked through those corridors myself, saber in hand. And yes, I remember every face, every voice that begged for mercy or explanation. They haunt me still. But they had to die. The old order was corrupt, weak. They couldn't see what was coming, couldn't adapt, couldn't change. So they were removed.
Children. You killed children because they couldn't adapt. That's what you tell yourself. I've done terrible things, Vader. Raised cities. Destroyed civilizations. But I never walked into a school and murdered students because they represented an outdated philosophy.
And what was Cybertron, Megatron? What was your great revolution? You started as a gladiator, a slave who fought his way to freedom. I've read your history. You wanted equality, justice for the lower castes. A world where function didn't determine worth. Noble goals, what happened to them?
Don't speak to me about losing the path. I know what I became. Every Autobot I've killed, every city I've leveled, every compromise I've made with beings I despise. I feel the weight of all of it, but I never forgot why I started. The Senate that ruled Cybertron needed to fall. They built a world where bots like me were property, tools, disposable labor that could be melted down when we stopped being useful.
And now, millions of years later, is the Senate still your enemy? Or have you forgotten what victory was supposed to look like? I've watched conquerors lose themselves in conquest. The war becomes the purpose. The enemy becomes necessary. Without someone to fight, the fighter has no identity. Is that what you've become? A weapon that forgot what it was built for?
You're one to lecture me about lost purpose. You were a slave too once. Tatooine, a boy who dreamed of freeing his mother, of becoming something greater than the sand that buried everything he loved. Now you serve a man who would have left your mother in chains forever, who built his empire on the backs of slaves across 1,000 worlds. What happened to the boy Vader? When did he stop dreaming and start following orders?
The boy died on a volcanic world, burning alive while the man he thought was his brother walked away. What crawled out of that fire was something else, something that understood what the boy never could. That freedom is a lie, that power is the only truth, and that the fastest way to power is standing beside someone who already has it. The Emperor gave me purpose when I had none.
A path to what? Second place forever. You'll never sit on that throne. He'll never let you. I've known beings like your Emperor Soundwave, Starscream Shockwave. They use loyalty as a tool and discard when it stops being useful. The moment you become a threat, the moment you show real independence, he'll destroy you. And you know it. I can hear it in that mechanical breathing, the resignation.
You mentioned Thanos once. In the reports I read before this meeting, the Titan who erased half of all life with a thought, you compared his methods to mine, to yours. You said he had a clearer purpose. Explain that. What did a murderer of trillions understand that we don't?
That's what Thanos had. Insane purpose, maybe. Cruel purpose. But he knew exactly what he wanted and he achieved it. One action. One snap. Done. He didn't spend 4 million years grinding against the same enemies. Didn't serve a master who kept him on a leash. He gathered his tools, did the work, and walked away. There's something almost admirable in that.
You admire a being who killed randomly, without selection, without purpose beyond mathematics. At least when I killed, I chose who died. At least when you burn a city, you know why you're burning it. Thanos flipped a coin for every living thing in the universe.
But he finished. That's more than either of us can say. Your empire still fights rebels. My Decepticons still fight Autobots. We've been at war so long the war has become who we are. Thanos did his terrible thing and then stopped, grew vegetables, found peace. When was the last time you knew peace, Vader? When was the last time I did?
And your Emperor, Palpatine, you've studied him, I assume. Compared him to yourself. Who's the real villain in this room, Megatron? The one who serves a monster, or the one who became one? Because I've met my master, I know exactly what he is. Cold, manipulative, evil in ways I'm still discovering. But you started as a freedom fighter. You chose to become this. Every step was yours.
You think that makes me worse? I think it makes me honest. Palpatine hides behind politics, Senate votes, emergency powers. He pretends to be legitimate while poisoning everything he touches. I never pretended. When I broke the old order, I did it with my fists. When I killed openly. Your master is a shadow. I am a storm. And when this is over, when the war finally ends, everyone will know exactly what I was. No one will have to guess. Can your master say the same?